Hey guys, let's get more news about Steelers, but first, don't forget to subscribe and leave your like. 3 Pittsburgh Steelers veterans will miss multiple weeks to start the season. The Pittsburgh Steelers will be without 3 players for multiple weeks to begin the year. Offensive tackle Dylan Cook and outside linebacker Jeremiah Moon were both placed on injured reserve but are being designated to return. They will have to miss the first 4 weeks of the season. Meanwhile, inside linebacker Cole Holcomb was placed on the physically unable to perform list as he recovers from a serious knee injury he suffered against the Tennessee Titans in November. On the play, safety Keanu Neal whipped his leg into Holcomb's knee, causing it to hyperextend. Holcomb was carted off the field and will not return for at least the first 4 weeks of the season, but it will likely be even longer. The former Washington Commanders linebacker and North Carolina star signed a 3-year contract with the Steelers in the 2023 offseason. Still, the team restructured his contract to become a split contract at training camp. What the split contract does for the Steelers is save them some cap space while allowing Holcomb to have a guaranteed contract up front. If Holcomb is out for the season with a knee injury, he will only earn $3.1 million, which is guaranteed, rather than the initially agreed $6 million in base salary. Cook is dealing with a foot injury that will likely keep him out for several weeks. He remains in a walking boot. Meanwhile, Moon is also in a walking boot with an ankle or foot injury, but when he does return, he projects to become the Steelers' 4th outside linebacker and a key member of their special teams unit. Cook will be the team's 4th offensive tackle behind their top 3. The Pittsburgh Steelers have signed free agent linebacker Easton Gibbs, the team announced on Wednesday. Gibbs joins the team after rookie linebacker Tyler Murray suffered a groin injury on Tuesday. Murray was waived/injured with the injury, and he will revert to injured reserve as long as he clears waivers. Gibbs played with the Seattle Seahawks earlier this season, but was placed on the non-football injury list. The Seahawks later moved on, and Gibbs has found his way back into the NFL with the Steelers. The Steelers saw Gibbs at the East-West Shrine Bowl, where he stood out most of the week. Gibbs, 23, played football at Wyoming. At the NFL Combine, he ran a 4.73 40-yard dash at 6 feet tall. However, his 10-yard split was an impressive 1.59, showcasing that Gibbs has some explosiveness while lacking elite long speed. Gibbs follows in the footsteps of Wyoming linebackers Logan Wilson and Chad Muma, both of whom still play in the NFL. He earned first-team All-Mountain West selections in 2022 and 2023. Over his entire career, Gibbs racked up 362 tackles, 7 sacks, an interception, and 4 forced fumbles as the unit's captain. With the Steelers, he will join a position group with plenty of competition but has an opening for a practice squad spot if he can prove himself over the next few games. With Cole Holcomb sidelined, others will get more opportunities, like Tyler Matakevich and Mark Robinson, but that can trickle down to guys like Gibbs, as it was trickling right down to Murray before he got injured. Parting with a do-it-all wide receiver was a mistake by the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Steelers had to make some difficult decisions Tuesday afternoon when they cut the roster to 53 players. Overall, there weren't too many surprising moves, besides keeping 8 defensive linemen. I was a little surprised and disappointed by a player who was cut just before the deadline, and that decision could end up being a big mistake for the Steelers' offense going forward. The wide receiver room has been a big topic of discussion this offseason, and the room doesn't exactly look like it's in a great spot following roster cuts. The Steelers only kept 5 receivers, and none of them besides George Pickens have a super high ceiling as of now. Roman Wilson could get there. The player I'm upset about losing fits that description as well, but there were other reasons I thought he should have made the roster. Dez Fitzpatrick found himself on the outside looking in following roster cuts. Fitzpatrick flashed in the preseason, catching 5 balls for 130 yards, and had an overall good camp as well. He contributed as a gunner on special teams and showed some big play potential. I understand why the 5 receivers who made the roster made it, but I think Fitzpatrick should have gotten a chance to contribute. His special teams value alone should have given him the edge for a roster spot. Fitzpatrick showed more big play potential than Scotty Miller and is a better overall receiver. With the current receiver room, the Steelers need as much ceiling as they can get, and I like Fitzpatrick's ceiling more than Miller's. Keeping Fitzpatrick isn't the difference between winning a Super Bowl or not, but I think he would have provided something different to this offense. The debate about this highlights a larger issue with the Steelers' 2024 offseason, a complete lack of care for the wide receiver room. Since trading Deontay Johnson, Omar Khan and the Steelers have completely failed to properly address that hole. Scotty Miller and Van Jefferson aren't good enough to be starters and contributors on a team that wants to compete. Unless a last-minute Brandon Ayuk trade comes through, the Steelers are going to enter 2024 with a below-average wide receiver room and even more quarterback questions. Keeping Fitzpatrick wouldn't have answered all those questions, but it would have provided some hope for explosive plays in Pittsburgh. The Steelers better hope Khan can pull off a miracle, or this room could ruin any chances for a special Steelers season. Garafolo, Steelers expected to sign veteran RB Boston Scott to practice squad. With news of the 53-man roster rolling in for the Pittsburgh Steelers following the 4 p.m. deadline, GM Omar Khan and assistant GM Andy Weidel are already busy shaping their 16-man practice squad. One name that is expected to be on the practice squad to start the season is veteran running back Boston Scott, according to NFL Network insider Mike Garafolo. Garafolo reports that the Steelers will add the 29-year-old running back to the practice squad, reuniting him with Weidel. Weidel was in Philadelphia when Scott signed with the Eagles after being drafted by the New Orleans Saints in the 6th round in 2018, before being cut and landing with the Eagles. Scott previously spent the summer and preseason with the Los Angeles Rams before he was cut loose on Sunday, giving the veteran a leg up on finding a new situation in the NFL. That situation will reportedly now be in Pittsburgh, where he'll provide the Steelers with some experienced depth on the practice squad behind Najee Harris, Jaylen Warren, and Cordarrelle Patterson, who will hold down the running back position on the 53-man roster. Across 6 seasons with the Eagles from 2018 to 2023, Scott carried the football 302 times for 1,295 yards and 16 touchdowns. He added 71 receptions for 566 yards and 1 touchdown with the Eagles, playing in 75 regular season games with 12 starts. In 8 career playoff games with the Eagles, Scott has 22 carries for 120 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 5 receptions for 33 yards. Scott is 5'6", 204 pounds, and turned 29 in April. The veteran running back signed a 1-year deal with the Rams on May 1, but found himself in a crowded running back room in Los Angeles, leading to his release. He gets a fresh start in Pittsburgh, where he'll have to acclimate to a new offense under coordinator Arthur Smith, but provides experienced depth for the Steelers in the running back room. And you, fan? What do you think of the situation of Boston Scott? Leave your opinion in the comments.